can we move on to question 7c, which is, should a lower proportion of affordable housing be required in certain areas? And the areas that we've set out at the moment in the question is the core central activity zone, which is very much the area around Soho, perhaps up as far as the, let me think, Wimpole Street. I'll show you on this map.
Yeah.
These purple bits, for anyone who can see, are what we're referring to. So, should we be requiring a lower proportion for the purple areas, which includes these streets, which are Great Portland Street, Portland Place, Marylebone Road, Baker Street and Edgware Road, and also within the Paddington Opportunity Area.
That's what happens at the moment, doesn't it?
That's what happens at the moment. So do we support that as continuing, or would we like to change those policies?
Well, excuse me, I think, there are those residents who moan frequently about the high cost of low-income housing or no-income housing, the high cost to those that own or pay rent. And it seems to me that in any case the books must balance out at the council level somehow. But however that works, I would think that in deprived areas where there is room, we should be having affordable homes, because then it all balances out.
So you're saying within Westminster's more deprived areas, you'd certainly
in
support...
Westminster's more deprived areas. I'm not saying take away homes from anybody. I'm saying if you can build more, let's have affordable homes.
Okay, thank you. This gentleman here.
Can I ask, why was it the decision of the council to allow more commercial use of the area in the Paddington Basin area, Norfolk Road, as opposed to building social housing in that area? If you go into the Paddington Basin area, now bearing in mind that was never previously office space there. That was originally the old Paddington station, and years later it became the Paddington Depot, and now it is just inundated with commercial office space and a very, very, very minimal amount of social housing there. If you go into that Paddington Basin of a night time, it's like a ghost town.
Yes.
I haven't actually been personally involved in Paddington myself, but as far as I understand it, there are a couple of things to say on that. One is, actually at the point when we were trying to get Paddington development begun, it wasn't an attractive area to develop. It was very run down. The canal basin.
Careful what you're saying, because I grew up in that area.
Absolutely. I'm not saying the basin itself, surrounded by warehouses.
I used to play there when I was a child. It's a very attractive area.
Very beautiful, but it needed a great deal of money spending on it. It was in a very, very poor state of repair. There's also a great deal of money needing to be spent on public transport aspects there. A lot of the developments are putting money into the links into Paddington, the footbridges and so on. But Paddington is not yet finished. The Merchant Square scheme will have, as I understand it, a lot of affordable housing in it, a lot of housing.
If the have affordable housing there? What area did you say?
Yes, in Merchant Square.
Yes.
At the moment, I agree with you that the balance is still... Can I just continue? The balance of the uses there at the moment is too much weighted towards the commercial, but there is housing still coming.
Yeah, but I mean, how much more space is left there? You've used up all the space there.
There is
commercial
space.
There's probably about 19 offices to every one, or 29 offices to every one residential.
No, I think it's an exaggeration, but there is Merchant Square, which is a large part on the north side of the basin. There is the community school site, which will be developed. There may well be the ability of developing Dudley House with more affordable housing on our own land. There are a number of places where more housing will be built.
But that whole of Norfolk Road there used to be yards, rubbish yards, builders' yards, all sorts of yards opposite the school there. And now it is just pure offices. Marks and Spencer's have got their head offices there, other offices are there. It's just pure commercial property.
Can I just clarify then that you would certainly support redressing the balance that's in Paddington Opportunity Area and putting a lot more housing.
Far more social housing.
Well, I think we've certainly recorded that, and it came through earlier in the night. It's come through again, and we've...
Absolutely. Build more social housing with secure tenants.
May I ask why the council is always digging its feet in, particularly in the planning department? Because Can I speak?
Yeah.
Right. Very close to the Paddington Basin that that gentleman's talking about, and at the end of Church Street, across the Edgware Road, there is a tract of land that has stood vacant for nearly centuries almost. 20, 30 years. We've been through planning, consultancy, this, that and the other, approved designs. It's exactly what we wanted in Church Street to take on the overspill. It's got social housing, low-cost housing, private rental, a supermarket and a community area. It couldn't be better. It is, we all in Church Street think it's the model of the future, the way to build. It's still sitting there empty.
Sandra, you know who owns that? I believe it's Tesco's, and you know who the family is there?
It doesn't matter
We
to me
mustn't
who
get-
owns it. I want to know why we aren't
Really,
moving
Spencer?
forward on it, for God's
Well,
sake.
if we could just let
What is going to be
the
there?
officer respond.
The lady is absolutely right. There are planning permissions that have been granted on that site.
Yes.
We do not own it. We cannot force somebody to develop it. There are very complicated legal battles going on between different landowners
Sure, you've
around
had
there.
tenders from contractors.
The saddest thing is that that's been going on for so long that I think the schemes that were designed on that site probably now
Yeah.
won't be built because
Well,
the market has changed and they will start all over again.
Reputation for failing. I'm sorry, you don't
Sorry,
know that.
excuse me, there's a gentleman down the back who's been waiting to speak for some time. If we could just take his view. I'm sorry, if we could just take his view.
Is that Fitzrovia the area you're talking about?
No, that's not Fitzrovia.
There are some areas. If we could just take the gentleman down the back.
I think the only point I wanted to make is I'm sure we're all in agreement that more affordable housing is something that Westminster should be in search of, and I think the only debate is how to achieve that. And one of the interesting things about Paddington is the gentleman's quite right. Commercial uses have come forward before the residential uses. There's some residential, there's more commercial at Paddington right now. Now, the truth of the matter is it's quite challenging to build residential. It's quite challenging to build residential with 30% affordable housing. It's much more challenging to the point of possibly impossible, probably impossible, to build residential with 50% affordable housing on land where there is an alternative. So, you know, the questions in front of the council are pretty challenging. We could go back to the days of Churchill Gardens, massive public sector investment. If you were to do that, you would achieve a lot of affordable housing. I suspect those days are far, far behind us. So I think the comment made by the lady at the front was you can only build on the land you get. Comment by one of the gentlemen on Harrow Road was you've got to be more adaptable. So I think you've got to make the most of the opportunities you have, and you've got to try and promote opportunities.
I think that's the
And
lesson
that
of the
means
council.
adaptability on the part of the council as well as on the part of the developers.
Okay. So would you support quite a flexible approach in terms of proportions? Rather than looking at, say, 30% or 50%, are you suggesting that we look at it on a case-by-case basis?
I certainly don't think you should become less flexible than you already are, and you're not terribly flexible at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. Were there any other views in terms of the proportions that we would seek? Just in terms of the proportions that we would seek?
Can I make a
depends on
simple
the
statement
area,
before I
doesn't
say
it?
anything else? I used to have an office in Manchester Square before I retired. I think that office was just about in what I knew as Fitzrovia. You may have a different name for it. Now, it extends further back northwards from Manchester Square. You have to map. Okay?
Manchester Square, not
Is you
Fitzrovia.
well, you say not.
Nowhere near it.
Well, it's the
Nowhere
beginning-
near it.
it's
I
the
was
beginning
there
of
as a
it.
boy.
I mean,
Now,
you
boys,
do
now,
not.
boys.
Manchester Square,
Half an hour walking.
Manchester, do you know Manchester Square? Right, well, it's not in Fitzrovia.
Sorry, can we just get to the point about the proportion?
Yeah, if you're going to redevelop those areas, quite a large proportion of that area is in the hands of some of the most wealthy landowners in this country.
That's right.
And they own the Georgian squares, which are immediately to the south. Now, they were the beginning of Georgian London. Okay, move northwards, it's not quite so attractive, but it's still part of that sort of area. So to actually redevelop it is going to be an expensive business. Now, I can't see how you can do that economically for affordable homes, much as you may wish to do it, without exercising some sort of compulsory purchase powers. And I think it's going to be quite a complicated business.